The clocks struck 4:48 a.m. on January 30th, 2026, when an urgent distress signal shattered the freezing early morning stillness surrounding a secluded Los Angeles estate. Forget the dazzling stage lights, the roaring laughter of an audience, or those famously eccentric costumes from her Schitt's Creek era. Instead, there was merely the haunting echo of emergency vehicles rushing through the dark and the final quiet breaths of a comedic master. Catherine O'Hara, the woman who perfected the art of finding humor within heartbreak for half a century, had finished her earthly performance. The official press releases remained painfully vague, mentioning only a short-term malady that claimed her life far too abruptly. This sudden exit left a global audience reeling in disbelief, primarily because just a few sunsets prior, she appeared completely untouchable. Before moving forward, don't forget to like and subscribe the channel for daily updates. How does a creative force who personified such boundless spirit simply evaporate between heartbeats? Welcome back to Starlight Stories. Today, we aren't merely listing film titles or trophy counts. We are paying tribute to a magnificent spirit who offered the public everything while keeping her most difficult internal battles strictly under lock and key. But there is a detail about her physical existence that almost no one understood: a biological reality she navigated every single hour. Catherine was physically unique from the moment of her birth. She navigated life with a rare medical state identified as Situs Inversus. Her heart didn't pulse on the left side like yours or mine, it was situated on the right. She was a living mirror of standard human biology. Perhaps that explains why her perspective on the world was so distinct. She saw the world through a mirror, reflecting joy in every shadow. But beneath the smiles lay a steel-trap resolve to guard her personal space. What specifically transpired during those concluding 72 hours that caused Macaulay Culkin, her iconic cinematic son, to collapse in grief? Stay with us, because the truth of her final days is more poignant than any script she ever performed. Truly grasp the weight of the silence she leaves behind. One must first recognize the masterpiece of joy she built for nearly 5 decennials. Catherine didn't just walk into the acting world, she revolutionized it. Raised in a large, energetic household in Toronto, she realized early on that comedy wasn't just a pastime. It was a necessary tool for survival. In a house with 6 siblings, if you weren't quick-witted, you were invisible. This survival trait pulled her into the improvisational fires of the Second City during the late 70s. Imagine the scene. Toronto in 1974. A rough, high-intensity environment. This was a male-dominated arena where she stood on equal ground with giants like John Candy, Eugene Levy, and Don Aykroyd. In those formative years, she wasn't just the woman in the group. She was a master of disguise. She realized that by changing her voice, her posture, and her very essence, she could command a room better than any booming male baritone. She once remarked that the stage was the only place where she felt she had total control. A stark contrast to the chaotic, crowded home of her youth. This period birthed characters like Lola Heatherton, where she pushed the boundaries of what was ladylike in comedy. She was fearless, but even then friends noticed a pattern. The second the camera stopped, Catherine would retreat. She would vanish into the background, a silent observer of the very world she had just set on fire with laughter. This duality, the loud performer and the silent guardian of her own soul, would define her entire career. Then arrived the character that would immortalize her. For countless generations of kids, the year was 1990. The movie was Home Alone. She turned toward the lens and shrieked, "Kevin!" In that crowded airport, she didn't just act out a script. She wove herself into the very fabric of the holiday season forever. For decades, she portrayed the stressed, devoted, beautifully flawed mother that families welcomed into their homes every single winter. She turned into a beacon of warmth. However, celebrity status on this scale is a massive burden. While the public enjoyed the fluid genius of Delia Dietz in Beetlejuice or the tenderness of Kate McAllister, they seldom witnessed the perfectionist who fretted over every single take. Catherine was known to struggle with massive performance anxiety. She approached humor not as a game, but as a precise science. She would analyze every vowel and every facial muscle. Why? Because she felt a deep responsibility to the audience. She believed that if she didn't get the joke exactly right, she'd It was failing the people who looked to her for emotional relief. But there was a darker side to this fame. Catherine watched as the industry consumed those closest to her. The most devastating impact was the loss of her close friend and former partner, John Candy. In 1994, when he died suddenly, Catherine was the one who stood before the world to offer a tribute. She realized then that in Hollywood, you are only as good as your last laugh, and she vowed to never let the industry see her break. She became a fortress. She kept her family life in Los Angeles completely separate from the glitz of the red carpet. She was a mother first, a spouse second, and a celebrity a distant third. Just when the world thought they had Catherine O'Hara figured out, she delivered what many view as her ultimate achievement, Schitt's Creek, as the legendary Moira Rose. She built a figure so distinctive, with a baffling accent and an endless collection of wigs, that she ignited a global trend in her late 60s. It was a glorious final act. She was collecting trophies, earning standing ovations, and proving that genius only matures with time. We joked about her vocabulary, we copied her outfits, we assumed she'd always be there to provide the next punchline. But the most radiant lights usually hide the darkest corners. While we were mesmerized by the flashing lights of her career rebirth, we didn't notice that the clock was quietly, stubbornly ticking away. The physical strain of recording a series, like Schitt's Creek, or taking on intense parts in The Last of Us, demands a level of energy that would break someone half her age. Yet she never allowed the mask to slip. Partners often called her the first person on the set and the last to depart. It forces us to ask a gut-wrenching question. Was she hurting in secret during those final shoots? Did she bypass the alarm bells of her own health just to ensure she didn't let down her audience? Asterisk, there is a cruel paradox here. Catherine O'Hara spent half a century making sure that when we saw her, we saw only vitality. She masked her exhaustion under high fashion. She shielded us from the truth of her mortality so effectively that when the conclusion arrived, it felt like a break in reality as the last days of January 2026 drew closer. The stage was prepared for an exit that would leave the world wondering why they hadn't appreciated her more. In late 2025, the Hollywood buzz had already begun to shift. There were turned-down invites to ceremonies she would normally lead. There were sudden shifts to production calendars. Even her closest friends noticed a changed gentle pulling away. The woman who spent a lifetime controlling her own story was now navigating a plot point she couldn't edit. At age 71, on a Friday that started like any other, the stillness was finally ended. The quiet was shattered by that short, painful update: Catherine O'Hara has died following a brief illness. That phrase, brief illness, explains nothing. It was her final act of privacy. But in the silence of her passing, the true roar of her legacy began. The most haunting sound came from Macaulay Culkin. He broke his silence with a message that stopped Hollywood in its tracks. I thought we had time. This was the second the disguise dropped away forever. We saw that while we were busy making memes of Moira Rose, she was fighting a war we couldn't see. The press, usually so aggressive, was quieted by the weight of the sadness. She had taken back her narrative by leaving us desperate for one more line, one more smile, and one more second we will now never have. The life of Catherine O'Hara isn't just a news story. It is a lesson. It acts as a powerful reminder that behind every celebrity, there is a vulnerable human being fighting invisible wars. As we say goodbye, we return to that one beautiful detail, her heart on the right side of her chest. Perhaps this was a sign she was unique from day one. In a cold business, Catherine O'Hara proved that even if her heart was physically on the wrong side, it was emotionally in the perfect place. She gave us her spirit until she couldn't. She gave us laughter to fix our own pain, and in her final, quiet act, she gave us the mercy of avoiding a long goodbye. Catherine O'Hara is gone, but the sound of her laughter will echo through history forever. What is the one role of Catherine's that changed your life? Was it the motherly love of Kate McAllister, or the chaotic brilliance of Moira Rose? Let us know in the comments below. Let's fill this space with the joy she gave us. If you found this tribute meaningful, please like the video and subscribe to channel for more deep dives into the legends we love. Good night, Moira. Good night, Kate. Good night, Catherine. You've finally earned your rest.